Have you ever heard of Jan Glogauer? Probably not. History is filled with unsung heroes, brilliant minds whose stories are whispered in the dusty corners of libraries, their legacies overshadowed by the giants we all know. But today, we're pulling one of these forgotten geniuses out of the shadows. This is the story of Jan Glogauer, the man who saw the future, who built marvels with nothing but gears and steam, and who, in a tragic twist of fate, outran his own time. Our story begins in the late 19th century, a time of booming industry and incredible invention. While names like Edison and Bell were making headlines, in a quiet workshop in Prague, another kind of magic was happening. Jan Glogauer wasn't an inventor in the traditional sense. He was a dreamer, an artist whose medium was mechanics. Born into a family of clockmakers, he had an innate understanding of intricate systems. From a young age, gears turned in his mind just as they did in his hands. He could look at a complex timepiece and see not just its function, but its soul, its rhythm, its potential for something more. But Jan wasn't content with just making clocks. He saw the world around him, the burgeoning cities, the new railways crisscrossing the continent, and he envisioned something grander. He believed that the same principles that made a watch tick could be applied to society itself. He dreamt of creating machines that didn't just tell time, but saved it. Machines that could think, that could solve problems, that could ease the burdens of human labor in ways no one had yet imagined. His early work was astounding. While his contemporaries were refining the steam engine, Glogauer was building what he called automatons. These weren't the simple, clumsy robots of fiction. They were intricate mechanical wonders. He created a mechanical librarian that could retrieve books from a small, personal library based on a series of punched cards. Imagine a searchable database in the 1880s. He designed an automated postal sorter for the city of Prague, a sprawling contraption of brass and iron that could sort letters by district with astonishing speed and accuracy. His magnum opus, however, was a machine he called the harmonograph. This wasn't a musical instrument, but a device designed to predict social patterns. Glogauer was obsessed with the idea that human society, like a clockwork mechanism, operated on predictable cycles. He spent years collecting data census records, market prices, weather patterns, even newspaper headlines. He translated all this information into a complex system of interlocking gears and weighted pendulums. By setting the initial conditions, the harmonograph would begin to move, its multiple arms drawing elegant, swirling patterns on a large sheet of paper. Glogauer believed these patterns could forecast major societal shifts, economic booms and busts, population movements, even periods of social unrest. He presented his findings to the academics and officials of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. They were amused. They saw him as a brilliant but eccentric toymaker. They patted him on the back, called his harmonograph a charming parlor trick, and sent him on his way. They simply couldn't grasp the concept. The idea of predictive analytics, of data science, was a century away. His genius was so far ahead that it was invisible to them. Rejection didn't deter Jan. It fueled him. If the world wouldn't listen, he would build a world that would. He retreated further into his workshop, which had now become a labyrinth of his own creation. He began working on his most ambitious project yet, Chronos, a massive, room-sized analytical engine. Powered by a dedicated steam boiler, Chronos was Glogauer's attempt to create a true mechanical brain. It was a symphony of logic gates made of brass, memory stored on rotating magnetic drums, and inputs fed through a complex telegraph-like keyboard. This machine was his life's work, the culmination of all his theories. He poured his family's fortune into it, working day and night, his hands stained with grease and his mind lost in a world of cogs and calculations. He believed Chronos could not only predict the future, but help shape it for the better, solving complex logistical problems for cities, optimizing agriculture, and preventing disasters before they happened. He was, in essence, trying to build the modern world with the tools of the Victorian age. But time, the very concept he sought to master, was not on his side. The world was changing, but not in the way he predicted. The subtle, cyclical patterns his harmonograph drew were being violently torn apart by the rising tides of nationalism and political tension that would eventually erupt into the First World War. The logical, ordered world that his machines were built to understand was descending into chaos. The tragedy of Jan Glogauer is that he saw the storm coming, but he was trying to chart its course with a compass while everyone else was preparing for a fistfight. His warnings, encoded in the beautiful, abstract drawings of his harmonograph, were dismissed as the ramblings of a madman. His detailed proposals for urban efficiency were filed away and forgotten. The world was not ready for a visionary. It wanted soldiers and cannons. As the war began, his resources dried up. The materials he needed were diverted for the war effort. His assistants were conscripted. His workshop fell silent for the first time in decades. Glogauer, now an old man, was left alone with his magnificent, unfinished dream. Kronos, the machine that was meant to save the world, stood dormant, a monument to a future that never arrived. Jan Glogauer died in relative obscurity shortly after the war ended, his name barely a footnote in the city's records. His workshop and its contents were sold for scrap, its mechanical wonders melted down to make mundane objects. The genius who had touched the future was erased by the present. So why should we remember Jan Glogauer? Because his story is a powerful reminder. It tells us that progress isn't a straight line. It's full of false starts, brilliant ideas that arrive too early, and geniuses who live and die in the wrong century. Glogauer wasn't just a clockmaker or an inventor. He was a pioneer of the information age, born 100 years too soon. He was building search engines before computers and practicing data science before the term even existed. His failure was not one of imagination or skill, but of timing. He offered the 19th century a blueprint for the 21st, and they simply couldn't read it. Today, as we live in the world Glogauer dreamed of, a world run by algorithms and data, where information is our most valuable currency, we can look back and see his vision with perfect clarity. He is the patron saint of all the dreamers, the thinkers, and the creators whose ideas are ahead of their time. He is a testament to the fact that sometimes the greatest minds don't just shape the future. They have to wait for the world to catch up to them. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed this story of a forgotten genius, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden corners of history. Let us know in the comments if there are any other unsung heroes you think deserve the spotlight. Until next time, stay curious.